Hey guys, Dan here, and it's Joe for another Dan's Big Movie.
It's true.
This is now the anniversary for September, and we're looking at the 20-year anniversary of a movie that you and I have talked about almost our entire friendship.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the go-tos, but we've never watched it together. We've never reviewed it for any of our different channels or iterations.
Nope.
And that is Rat Race, the 20th anniversary. As soon as I saw this one come up on the list, I said, we have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we're doing a Whoopi double next month,
Mm-hmm.
and Whoopi is in this, we still have to do it.
Well, you know, there's always time for more Whoopi.
There's always room for Whoopi. And then we're pairing it with a movie that, much like Rat Race, has been talked about a lot.
Yeah.
But only by you, because I had never seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I knew a little bit about it. I knew Tim Allen was in it, and I knew Johnny Knoxville was and I knew Johnny Knoxville was in it. And that is Big Trouble, which I'm going to hold up.
Close.
This is the collection I have it on. It's an 8. It's called Criminally Clueless.
It
includes
down,
it's down there at the bottom.
Yeah.
It includes Mafia, which is another one of your favorites, actually. It includes Oscar, the Sylvester Stallone movie. Another Stakeout.
Actually, this movie,
Patrick Swayze and Fatherhood.
Disorganized Crime, I think you'd like, because that's got Herman Munster in it as one of the crooks.
I do like Fred Gwynn.
That's a good one.
So anyway, so that's how we watch Big Trouble on this collection.
How tells you what they think of that?
But anyway, I wasn't sure about that pairing, and then our friend Tim heard about it and said,
Makes
sense. That makes total sense.
Sense.
And after seeing it, I have to agree. It does fit kind of with the theme of
wacky ensemble suitcase stuff.
Sort of on a run of sorts.
There's a lot of movement, changing of hands, things.
So what we do with the Dan's Big Movie is we really talk at length about these movies, but it is spoilers. We talk about the nitty gritty and the details. I don't think these movies are necessarily like
spoiler heavy.
This isn't Citizen Kane here, but
let you know
we're going to talk about plot schematics and things like that. So this is from 2001, and this is directed by Jerry Zucker, who Abrams Zucker did Airplane and Naked Gun and Hot Shots and all of those movies. So they've got their hands in these sort of spoof movies and madcap sort of jokes and stuff like that. But really, this is a remake essentially of It's a Mad World, which we did watch and review for Film Fanatics, I believe, right?
It was a good movie, yeah.
With all of these famous people from the 60s. So here, they got a modicum of famous people. I don't think these are,
the same
except for Whoopi, really, any of them are A-listers.
Cuba.
Cuba at the time, I guess, had gotten his Oscar win.
Though not really for comedy stuff that much.
No, although I think we could admit Rod Tidwell sort of was the comedic energy of Jerry Maguire.
Yeah. And as good as it gets, he was funny, too.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then, John Lovitz, people know him from SNL, but is he an A-lister? I don't know.
Well, with John Cleese.
And I was just going to say, John Cleese from Python, but he's not one of the racers. He kind of bookends the film.
Yeah.
And he's in a few scenes here or there watching the antics, but I wouldn't call him an A-lister
There's a couple people I didn't even know. Like Whoopi's daughter. I didn't know who she was.
Yeah, I don't think she's one of the famous ones.
I liked
Kathy Najimy we see from Hocus Pocus and Sister Act.
Seth Green's friend. I didn't know.
Seth Green. Breckenmeyer is in this.
Is he the guy that's kind of like, I'm going to try to go out and do things?
Yeah, he's like the solo guy.
I see him in things I never know his name.
Amy Smart, real pretty. She's in it.
Is she the helicopter girl?
Yeah,
I liked her.
The blonde. So look, essentially. Let you talk about the plot, of course.
Sure.
And then we'll go on from there.
I mean, the plot's pretty simple, actually.
Like I said, it's Mad World.
Yeah, they're a little different. I mean, they're in Vegas, right?
Yeah, they start in Vegas.
Yeah, they're all in Vegas. These different people we can go a little further into their different characterizations, but basically, a bunch of people are invited to this room in this Vegas hotel casino thing, where they're said, hey, you have been selected for this game. If you go and find this suitcase with a certain amount of money, whoever gets their first wins.
They give them like all the coordinates and the P.O. box and whatever.
But there's no rules. It's like you just get there first, and it is literally a race. Go. And it takes them a while to figure it out, and they all eventually slowly say, hey, we'll try to get there. And then all kinds of madcap, ridiculous
all the shenanigans
ensue.
Yeah.
And we'll go further in depth with that. But really, it's just a bunch of that, and then they do finally get to it, get to the money, and the big spoiler is they basically give it all away because they go to a Smash Mouth concert.
They end up
for charity.
We can talk about the end of the movie, but yes, they end up at a Smash Mouth concert where they sort of are guilted kind of by the audience and by the band into donating this money.
And then they say that they'll have John Cleese and his rich friends who bet on everything will match it. So they kind of sort of get back at them to give money to something they don't care about. Because these guys are basically mean, don't care about people. I really think that this movie is kind of the trifecta of Smash Mouth because you got this, Mystery Men, and Shrek. I feel like that's
all within about a year, 18 months maybe of each other,
which is weird.
All with All Star,
all good movies, and I think that's a good triple feature. Right?
Actually, yeah, I'd be fine with
that's
it.
A good one.
We just rewatched Mystery Men about 6 months ago, and it's still funny.
Also, kind of like
I can always watch Shrek.
Ensemble, kind of spoofy again, so similar.
Actually, yeah, it sort of is similar theme.
But yeah, Rat Race. Really, in terms of breaking down the plot, Dan, I mean, really, we just talk about the different bits because it's just
essentially, I guess we'll talk about each person and their bits. So the John Cleese sort of flashing back to him and his buddies. Their whole plot is they bet on stuff. Crazy things. They'll spend, $100,000 bet, on whether
the guy how ridiculous can the butler, get with his suggestions for the woman to sleep with him?
Right.
Like, at what point will she say no or will she not? They'll bet on, but other things like how long people can hold on to stuff, like on the.
Very stupid bets, but they don't care. They're rich. That's the point.
That's the whole bit.
That's the whole gag. So look, when Cleese got the script, he said this is one of the 2 scripts that he's ever gotten. I imagine, he doesn't say, but I imagine the other one's Fish Called Wanda, where he read the script and immediately said, I'm going to do this.
Oh, wow.
And I imagine somebody of his caliber got scripts all the time.
He's probably very selective.
Very selective. In fact, in the last 20 years, like this was 2001, the only other thing I really can think of that he had a heavy part in is he had an arc on Will and Grace for like maybe 6 or 8 episodes. And of course he fit, right into that comedy ensemble. But for the most part, I mean, they've done a couple Python reunions, but I don't see him pop up much.
He was
days.
In another movie around this time that I liked called Out of Towners with Steve Martin.
Oh, you're right. God, that was a funny movie. That was a remake as well, actually.
I thought he was pretty funny in that.
You're right.
Was he the guy at the hotel that hates
That was
him?
probably right around this time, yeah.
I think that was also like 99.
Steve Martin and was that Goldie Hawn?
Goldie Hawn, yeah.
God,
see?
that was a funny movie.
When we do a Hawn double, man. We got to do some Hawn.
We both actually really like Goldie Hawn. What's the double?
Golden Goldies.
Golden Goldies! Wildcats would be one of mine.
I got it.
What?
How about the Kurt Goldie? We'll do a Kurt Russell and a Goldie Hawn.
Together.
We'll smash them together because they're together.
Yeah, I get it.
That'd be double, like Kurt Goldie, the Goldie Russell. The Goldie Russells. Anyway.
We've gone so far off track already.
Sorry.
But I do like that idea.
Okay.
All right, so let's go down the list.
Okay.
So, all right, so this, I'm just going by the list this says.
Sure.
So Breckenmeyer and Amy Smart. Breckenmeyer is this young attorney who wants nothing to do with this. Didn't even want to bet, but he figures, okay, he found a quarter or something. So he's like, okay, I'll put it in this machine. But then he thinks this is kind of a joke and silly and whatever.
He doesn't want to take risks. That's his whole thing.
But
he never does anything.
He meets this helicopter pilot, Amy Smart. She's got the rage issues. And so he's like, wait a second, you're a pilot. Everyone gets
running.
Well, everyone gets grounded. All the airplanes get grounded because of... How did they figure
because
that out?
Seth Green and his friend destroyed the
tower. Okay. So everything gets grounded. So it comes to light that this character, played by Amy Smart, has a helicopter. She's going to do a trip anyway. So he tags along with her, but then we find out she's insane.
That's kind of the joke,
and is like buzzing her boyfriend's...
Her ex-boyfriend's...
the house or whatever.
Her boyfriend's cheating on her, so just like attacks him with the helicopter.
Yeah. So they end up kind of falling in love. All right.
Yeah.
So then you've got Cuba Gooding, football referee.
Made the bad
he
call.
Had a bad call that is very famous, like the week before. So he's finding it hard to get a cab and all this stuff. So he ends up stealing the identity of this bus driver.
Going to a Lucy convention.
He ends up on the Lucy bus with the Lucy convention. I think
it's pretty good.
That was a clever scene.
That was pretty good.
Or a few scenes.
Wow.
That's one of the things I remember the most from the trailer that made me interested in seeing the movie because, of course, I'm a Lucy fan.
This is for you, yeah.
So I was just like, okay. And I loved Cuba from Jerry Maguire. So I was like, okay, I kind of need to see this movie.
Yeah.
So that was sort of his main thing. Seth Green and Vince Villeneuve, who plays the body pierced brother. I really the running trope with him is that he just got his tongue pierced,
can't talk,
and so he can't talk right. The whole movie sounds like that. I wanted to punch him in the face.
It's a dumb joke.
It's a dumb gag, and honestly, your mouth wouldn't be whatever. I mean, I pierce people for a living, not their tongues, but I work at piercing pagoda, and it's like that's not really. It wouldn't be like that for 2 days or whatever, but
no,
okay, whatever.
Not the best gag.
It's not the best gag. I get that this is a movie of not realistic things,
brow kind of,
but it was just annoying.
Yeah, it wasn't that funny. Yeah.
But I always like Breckin Meyer, or Seth Green.
Seth Green's funny.
So yeah, he's an insurance scammer, so he's just trying to figure out a way to make it happen, and then he finds about this, and it's like, oh, we gotta, really get a move on. But, he's getting slowed down by the brother and his own hormones and stuff like that. All right, then you've got, okay, so Whoopi Goldberg and her daughter, Lene Chapman, it plays her, Meryl Jennings. Yeah, I don't know her from anything but
I never
this movie.
saw her before, yeah.
But Whoopi, of course, we know. And so they're reuniting.
Mm-hmm.
Whoopi gave her up for adoption, so now they are really sort of reconnecting, haven't seen each other in decades, and now are going on this journey together.
Yeah.
They rent a car, and in one of the funniest scenes of the movie, the Kathy Bates cameo,
the squirrels,
with the squirrels, you should have bought a squirrel, and they veer off the road.
Should have bought.
That is one of, for me, the most memorable gags in the movie.
Well, I think that's the
right?
one of not the most ridiculous thing in the movie, but that's the most.
It's not ridiculous, but it is very like Looney Tunes.
Like when I think Rat Race,
yeah.
That's like basically that's when I first think of Rat Race. Oh, actually, I think of some other things more, but the scene in the trailer with the two of them just careening off the cliff.
Yeah,
that's Rat Race.
Yeah, that's right. And look, keep in mind, we've seen Thelma and Louise this year for one of our other Dad's Big Movie.
Reference.
I think that was sort of a reference to Thelma and Louise as well. So then you got John Lovitz and Kathy and Jimmy, husband and wife.
Their family.
He is
that's
just
probably one of the funniest
opportunist.
Gags, his arc,
the Hitler, the Hitler car, the Hitler museum is one of the. Klaus Barbie.
Klaus,
we want to go to the Barbie museum.
Let's go to the Barbie museum, sure. And then it's a Nazi, neo-Nazi Hitler
that
museum.
For me,
it's pretty good.
It's funny. This is the third time I've seen the movie. I forgot about that portion.
That might be the smartest one.
It's the most, I would say it's the most cleverly written sort of arc because, like you said, it continues on.
And there's also a lot going
3 or 4
on
scenes.
because it's like he has to try. Like at one point, he like knocks out his family to get them on.
That's right.
With
and then of course his pen leaks, so he's got like the Hitler mustache.
Yeah, but and then he goes
burns
to
his tongue, so he can't talk
goes
right.
to the VFW and starts like talking, and then the guy tries to shoot him because he's getting flashbacks.
Yes, of course. And then we have to talk, of course, about
Mr. Bean,
the
Italian
Rowan
Bean.
Atkinson.
Enrico Polini.
It says a simple-minded, narcoleptic Italian tourist.
He's basically Bean.
He's basically Bean in Italy. I mean,
but he is the best. He's the best. Okay,
I don't know that that's true.
Okay, well, how about this?
Only because the stuff with Wayne Knight is so stupid, and he's just playing Newman again.
But that stuff was kind of funny.
You know.
But here's the thing. What I mean by that is maybe he's not. I don't know. You laugh pretty hard at a lot of his stuff. But what I mean is,
I know he has some good gags.
What I mean by the best is
they're on the
train. Because he's the nicest guy.
Yeah,
we want him to win. He's the person
we do want him to win. That's true, and he almost does, but then he falls asleep.
Oh, that was the most intense one though with the baby.
That was
touching the
yeah, dude. That was very, very. You couldn't make that gag today.
I do
no way.
I do kind of like the gag with the organ. With Wayne Knight, it seems in line with the cartooniness.
It was just so Newman. Well, I wish they got a different actor.
Well, it reminds me of, because right around the time in the later seasons of Seinfeld, he and Kramer go off on the truck and get stuck in the farm. It just reminded me a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Their gags together.
Which is, again, why they maybe could have gotten a different actor, because it was a little too on the nose, maybe.
He was Newman.
He was being Newman.
But I mean, I like Newman, so it's not really a big negative.
I get it. Rowan Atkinson was just doing Mr. Bean, basically, but...
Slightly different.
But
look, he talks and
he does talk a little bit.
Sleeps, and that's about it.
His gags were funny.
Yeah.
All right. So what was the best gag in the entire movie? It's a good question because I think I think this is a movie. Here's the strength of this movie. If you asked like 5 people, 8 people, what their favorite gag is or who their favorite character is, you might conceivably get 8 completely different answers. And all of them, I think, would be valid.
Well, I think because they touch on different types of humor for everybody. And
I think it's the same with the original. I mean, I think this is a great homage film to that original. Because I don't know. I mean, the Squirrels is
good.
Definitely among the most memorable.
But do you think it's Hitler? The whole Hitler stuff builds really well.
And especially since John Lovitz is a very known Jew in Hollywood, like knowing that he's the one, doing these scenes, I think adds to it a little bit.
I really like, I like most of the Mr. Bean stuff is pretty good.
Yeah, the Bean on the train, I think, was my favorite.
Because I think with some of the other ones, they're more hit and miss. His stuff is more consistent.
Yeah. Lucy's was good.
Lucy's. Oh, the Lucy gags.
The Lucy's is pretty good.
I like when they go after him.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny.
I like when they all start crying.
They all start. Wah. It's pretty good.
Or is it Smash Mouth?
Smash Mouth is good. Actually, I know
the gag at the end.
I kind of really like the one towards the beginning where Seth and his buddy do accidentally get their car stuck up and it crashes.
You know what?
It's pretty good.
That is probably my favorite of theirs for sure.
For theirs, everything else.
I like the pilot coming down on that made me laugh really hard too on the boyfriend and his property when she was clipping the pool with their helicopter.
Well, that actually
right?
that was one of my favorite gags because see the whole thing about that joke is she seems very quiet and reserved, and
right? And then all of a sudden,
but then she goes, she has this insane look.
Yeah,
like, that's how that builds. Well. Okay, there's the one guy.
Just listed so many.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's tough.
Yeah.
Favorite gag, honestly, for me,
it's Hitler.
It's not the most. It's probably not the most politically correct, but when he does become Hitler and start talking about and go into the VFW and the guy tries to kill him,
so GD funny.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's. Probably,
I actually like. I kind of like the one with the Hitler.
Or
gags.
Hans Barbie. Is pretty great.
Yeah, that's Klaus Barbie.
Then when they cut to the
oh my god, that was good.
I
was going to say though too, when they're on the road in the Hitler car.
Oh, that's good too.
And the girls like the bicycle gang or whatever, or the motorcycle gang. Listen, and this speaks to
how funny
this movie is.
All right.
There are because there's just so many gags you could pull. It's gag after gag.
Well, it's weird though.
There's it's a thin plot. But that's okay.
Yeah, it's very thin.
A movie like that.
It's just an excuse to
have gag-driven movie,
set pieces and whatnot.
Yeah.
Though it has a lot of stuff that's cartoony and stretches believability. But I know that you and I had some that were like okay, like the cow bit. On the
I didn't think that was funny.
The fact that it showed up again,
and they did it like 3 times at least.
Like with the bads, like we thought it was kind of funny the first time.
First time was okay,
but like it's a balloon.
They kept going with it.
Literally found them at the same time. With
sense.
wind, that would not end up in a straight line.
Yeah.
So that wasn't very good.
Yeah. And we get it. This is not.
Kids might have found that funny.
Well, yeah, like I don't think that they're going for necessarily realism, but that was just silly.
Some of it
was just so. Yeah, it wasn't funny. But all right, so look, we've talked about all the humor. What are some of the negatives? I guess the plot is very threadbare.
The plot is practically not there.
And I think the ending. Let's talk about the Smash Mouth.
You have issues with Smash Mouth.
No, look.
Look,
I celebrate their entire catalog.
But
the point is,
enough. He says.
I think our friend Justin hates when a movie ends with a musical number out of nowhere that just doesn't advance the plot. It's just kind of odd.
Okay.
And this to me is, and I don't mind that necessarily in some instances, but I think this is kind of sort of the epitome of that.
Let's wash up real quick.
I think it's almost like, some episodes of The Simpsons, especially in like the middle era, they just didn't know how to end an episode, so they just did like a gag that didn't make any sense, and then it just ended.
Just weird, yeah.
I think that was this. I think they sort of had some vague idea of maybe how to end it, but they were like, well, we'll have them give the money away. Oh, but how? Well, let's say they went to a Smash Mouth concert and
because they're available.
Somehow got backstage you know, look, I've worked a lot of concerts in my day in radio, and it's not easy to get backstage at a concert.
Once again, believable though.
Again, I get it.
It's silly. That's their excuse.
Right, that's their excuse.
Well, right.
We've got Smash Mouth on hand.
Damn.
They're filming, a music video down the block.
You're leaning to a good point here. I think, in addition to
I think that's my least favorite part of the movie.
With addition to the plot being so thin, you're like, okay, we can't really wrap it up. We'll do something random. It's also because, for the most part, the characters are caricatures that don't really have arcs and stuff.
They can't really go anywhere with it.
If we could develop them and resolve all their arcs with more time, but no, we barely have characters to begin with, and that's the big flaw.
You could say it's a flaw.
It's a flaw.
Yeah,
and that maybe it could have been funnier, and there could have been maybe a little more heart, I guess, to it. Like there's a little bit,
right?
Like a lot of
it's kind of nice at the end where they like announce that John Cleese is gonna match everybody's donation, sort of throw him under the bus.
Yeah.
That kind of worked.
Yeah, it's fine.
So they sort of get something out of it. But at the same time, this is a man that makes $100,000 bets on who's going to, pick up the slice of orange first. So what's $5 million, $10 million to him? It doesn't matter.
It's not really about the money. It's the fact that he doesn't want to give any away.
Right.
So he won't like it. But but you're right. It doesn't really hurt him financially.
So the ending for me is actually one of the weaker elements. But that being said, I always sort of maintain a bad ending can sort of ruin an otherwise good movie. I don't think that's the case here. No. Because the movie's so silly. I mean, it's not like... at the end of Schindler's List, if Schindler, gave away all his money at a Smash Mouth concert, that would be a little out of touch.
A little genre flip there.
Yes. But, like, this at least, it doesn't matter.
Tonally,
right? Like, tonally, it's fine.
It's weird, it's out there, it's silly.
So I can't put that under that category of, like, it ruins the movie.
It
certainly
gag.
Doesn't.
It's just another gag.
It's another gag that maybe doesn't pay off, or what have you.
Not fully.
But look, I like the song. I was singing All Star for 3 weeks, as you do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the most catchy songs of all time.
That's why it's there. That's because it's a catchy song.
That's why everyone loves it or hates it. So I can say that maybe is a bit of a flaw.
Did you say something about you thought that the fact that it was Smash Mouth was a little odd, like with the audience that was there doing the benefit? Like you thought there could have been a better band choice that would have made
I probably did say that.
Did you say something like that?
At the time, what are they going to do? I mean, Smash Mouth was available, like you said.
They're pretty. I mean, that was when they had their hit. So
yeah, I mean, it was going to be either them or Sugar Ray, probably, or something. You know what I mean? Like everybody's kind of in that very Eve 6 or whatever.
Okay.
But I feel like that part was fine. I guess the audience they had were kind of punk rockers. Like when they would show audience shots, it seemed like they would be more at a Offspring concert. Or something
that's
than a Smash Mouth show. But whatever.
Well, I guess the only other negative I can think of is that, like we said, they're throwing so much.
Some of the gags don't work.
Some of the gags are kind of like dumb or
like the tongue ring gag, which was ongoing the entire movie.
The cow.
Was just not funny. And the cow part, I didn't like either.
Some of the Wayne Knight stuff.
Yeah, I could take or leave that. But
I like it.
Other than that,
it's pretty good.
This is one of the funnier movies out there of a more, I don't know, like clean nature, like a more family nature. Because
it's mostly family friendly.
I think we can say, without a doubt, really, that pretty much the funniest movies of the last 20 years have been of the R-rated Jump Street, Horrible Bosses, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, like Hangover, Bridesmaids. Those are like, the R-rated humor really kind of took over after American Pie. But this harkens back to, because I guess it's a remake from the 60s, a lot of this is family-friendly stuff. Yeah, there's a couple of sex jokes here and there. I think it is PG-13 probably, right?
To be honest, though, a lot of stuff would go over a little kid's head.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
PG-13. But you know what? Honestly, just barely. I mean, like, this is not that dirty of a movie.
The only one that was questionable was that baby thing.
Yeah, the trying to hit on a 1-year-old baby joke. I think Mr. Bean is the only one who can get away with it.
He's so G.
Bean can always do it. But yeah, so with that in mind, let's give our grades here, and then we'll look up the Rotten as we do, and then we'll look up the Ebert.
Okay.
I think, like I said, it's got some issues, but dollar for dollar, minute for minute, this is one of the funniest movies, certainly of the early 2000s. For me, this is an A-.
All right. I think I'm right under you. I think I give it a B+.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very funny.
You wanted Sugar Ray at the end.
I wanted Sugar Ross, actually. Very different.
Seeger Ross.
Seeger Ross, whatever his name. That would have been real different.
That would have been very different. All right, so let's see what critics and audiences alike think of Rat Race according to
hated, divisive.
Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's going to be, without looking, let's see. 60, I'm going to say about, were you going to say 65? I'm going to say 65 critics, 80 audience.
How about 75 audience?
Oof, we're both way over.
Oh, shite.
44 critics.
I told you to be divisive. Though.
64 audience.
I can see critics.
Audience does like it. But let's see what comedy like this is so subjective. They think it's so stupid.
They think it's
a lot of the critics think it's beneath them or whatever.
Very, very lowbrow.
And look, some of them are. You know, some of the Sandler movies are rough, but
look, sometimes you can do simple, dumb, like.
Well, here,
physical...
look, the 6 that they have highlighted are all positive,
all fresh.
All right, vulgar and lowbrow but funny, yeah. Genuinely hilarious Bellyacre.
They really like it.
All right. Film stands as a frequently gut-busting comedy that falls just short of greatness. Oh. You'll laugh so hard you cry. You'll hold your sides from laughter. Oh, they spelled "your" with a apostrophe, so they're out. I don't trust that critic. All right, let's look at a couple of the rotten though. Probably saying just it's stupid, lowbrow, manic, messy, and for the most part silly.
But I
don't agree. That's the whole point of the movie.
It is manic, messy.
I mean, I guess it is.
That's
right.
why it's funny. Yeah.
The only real surprise is how genuinely dreadful a movie that aims for only pleasant profit mediocrity can be. Some great moments, but with the talent on offer, this film should have broken ribs. I thought it was very funny. Mm-hmm. I got busted about it. It goes on and on. I don't think it's overly long.
I think it's really quick.
Yeah. It's a sad day when a man capable of such perfectly insane comic timing cannot properly pace a simple mad world rehash.
He's a fan of the
mad.
Yeah.
He's mad. All right, so that's it for that. What do you think about Ebert? Ebert, I feel like
he might like it because he liked Mad World.
Yes, he likes movies that do sort of harken back to another time.
Old movies. Remember, he likes the
old Hollywood. He liked
fan. 3.5
that movie stinks. Oh my gosh. All right, so can we search on Ebert? Is that how this works?
You can. I always Google it because it's the easiest.
I know, it really
What
is.
if Rat Race is in his great movies? 4
no,
stars.
There's no way. Although Mad World could be. I mean, that is one of the all-time classic comedies.
Either liked it.
I liked Mad World.
It's a good movie. It's actually longer than Rat Race, I think.
Oh, yeah, it was like 3 hours, I think.
It was really long.
When we watched it. All right, here we go. Rat Race, The 8th Day. Boy, you're right. They can't.
It's not good for searching his site.
Why can't they do that?
I don't know. His site, I always Google his reviews by Google, you know.
Right.
Searching stuff on his site is annoying.
Well, you know what?
No offense to you guys running his website, but
most hated it comes up on.
Oh.
I don't know.
Did he not review it? Sometimes he didn't review it.
Yeah, he might not have actually reviewed it. Well, he might have hated it, though, because it seems to be on his most... Oh, wait, here you go. Roger Ebert hated this film so much he gave it 0 stars. That's exactly what Rat Race does in truly brilliant fashion.
Whoa.
0 stars?
So this is on one of his hated.
Wow. Here you go. Rat Race. Okay, here you go. I can't find a full review, but here's an excerpt on this article about him.
That explains it.
How far would you go to ensure that you get there first to snag the money? Oh, all right. Well, that's just a description of the movie. That doesn't say what he said. All right. Well, anyway, he hated it, apparently. 0 stars. You know, the more we do these, I have to say, the more I think Roger Ebert is just a sour D sometimes.
Sometimes.
I just don't... Just lighten up, dude. All right, so look. Next is Big Trouble.
Yep, and Little China.
No. The not Big Trouble, Little China. The Tim Allen Big Trouble, 2002, so the following year. And
originally slotted for
I was going to say, we can talk about this before we even get into the film.
Which I think is a big caveat, yeah.
But yeah, I think it is, actually. This film is a big bomb. Big bomb. And the reason for that is it was originally slated for release,
nobody thought it was funny.
I think the week of 9/11 or something.
It's pretty close, yeah.
And so what happened was they, of course, shelved it for a while because one of the big scenes is a whole airport thing.
With the bomb.
The bomb on the plane. So they redid it a year later.
Which was still...
Yeah, it would have been released the same year as Rat Race. But yeah, so they put it on about 6 months later, and to be honest, people still weren't ready for it.
Oh, I mean, let's face it.
And did not change anything about... I think they should have reshot the entire ending of this movie.
I don't know about
that. To be completely honest.
I disagree with that, but the truth is...
I really do.
The thing is, it was going to be a good.
It was going to release
10
on
years.
September 21st, 2001. Yikes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
All right. So anyway, they ended up doing it the next year, but
that would have still been way too soon anyway.
Way too soon.
Wow.
What was it? Released April 5th, 2002. That's too
fresh.
soon.
Way.
So this is based on the novel Big Trouble by Dave Barry, who you did not know, but I know him as this very famous sort of humorist who releases humor books and has humorous columns in various newspapers.
Oh.
There was a TV show in the 90s, a sitcom called Dave's World, and it was based, he wasn't in it, but it was based on his writings. So he's a funny dude. So he wrote the book for this, but this was directed by Barry Sonnenfeld.
Oh, I like him.
Very famous.
Yeah.
And the cast just goes on and on. We already mentioned Tim Allen and Johnny Knoxville, but Zooey Deschanel.
I think it's one of the
and Jason Lee and Janine Garofalo.
People.
Omar Epps, early Ben Foster, Rene Russo, Tom Sizemore, Stanley Tucci. So there's another reason why Rat Race sort of does compare this cast, actually, maybe not at the time, but I would say from a 2021 standpoint. I mean, Stanley Tucci, this was an early one for him, but he's obviously very famous now.
Deschanel.
Ben Foster and Deschanel, very young here, but of course blew up in the next 10, 15 years. Even Jason Lee, I mean, other than the Kevin Smith movies, he hadn't done too much.
And
this is before My Name is Earl and everything.
And honestly, Patrick Warburton's a bigger star
That's
now
right.
than he was back
Absolutely.
then. So this is like,
probably the biggest stars at the time were Janine Garofalo and Tim Allen.
And
maybe Dennis Farina.
Rene Russo was pretty big.
Yeah, Russo was big. She did Tin Cup and some of those
the Lethal Weapon movies.
Yeah. So, all right.
But I don't know. I feel like she also,
But it's funny. They've kind of flipped because now Janine Garofalo, Rene Russo, they don't really work at all, really.
No.
And then all these other people, Zooey Deschanel's, one of the biggest stars out there.
Rene Russo, she was in Nightcrawler. That was like it. Remember that?
The last thing, it was almost 7 years ago by now.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the plot, though, of Big Trouble. One of your favorites.
A little more to this plot, certainly, than a Rat Race. But same basic premise. Essentially, it follows this guy, Tim Allen, who was a guy who wrote different articles for this newspaper company. Yeah. And he ended up getting fired because he got angry and kicked his computer because he didn't like do it. So now he's just struggling making little advertisements. He's kind of the main character of the movie, but there's a big ensemble. We'll talk about them all.
Yep.
But essentially, the plot is that there is this suitcase kind of going around, just kind of changing hands that nobody really knows what it is.
Right.
They all think it looks like a garbage disposal, but it's actually a bomb. And that's because, really, the inciting incident is that Stanley Tucci works for this company that he's, like, stealing money for. And he kind of just goes to these Russian guys that he kind of, like, has dealings with, smuggling things in. Like, I need something to protect myself in case these guys are going to go after me because these hitmen have been hired to kill him. And meanwhile, that kind of interweaves with Stanley Tucci's family life because he's married to Raven Rousseau, and her daughter is his stepdaughter. That's Zooey Deschanel. And then Tim Allen and her meet, and there's kind of a romance there.
Yeah.
In addition to kind of sort of Deschanel with Tim Allen's son, there's kind of romance.
Yeah, Ben Foster.
Meanwhile, there's also these two cops that are in the middle of it. You got the great Warburton and Garofalo, my favorites. Kind of just kind of, I know your favorite part.
Yep.
And they're trying to figure out what's going on. Basically, this movie is just a lot of nuts. Oh yeah, also not to mention Puggy. He lives in a tree.
That's right.
Jason Lee,
great. Always great.
Falls in love with what's her name? Who's the maid? The girl we like. You didn't believe me. She was in this.
Oh yeah,
Modern
was that
Family.
not Eva Longoria? It's Sofia Vergara.
Sofia Vergara.
That's right.
Super young, and they're
really early Vergara.
Did I forget anybody else?
Well, Dennis Farina, you forgot his whole plot.
He's the hitman. And him and his partner, which have my favorite joke in the movie about the Gator fans, which just always cracks me up, that gag. And also there's, another recurring gag is like that one actor that is Tim Allen's boss that he keeps getting beaten up because he's an a-hole.
Oh, yeah. Who was that?
By the way, we saw him in things. I saw him in Frasier. He's the...
Who is he in Frasier?
He was the guy that...
My show.
Is the real estate guy that... it has the apartment that Niall's moving into.
My God, you're right.
So he shows up in things.
You're right.
We were like, we've seen him. Like, I saw him on something the other day. So
Andy Richter, you forgot his cameo. Love Andy Richter.
Andy Richter. So yeah, there's basically a lot of people are kind of crossing paths, and there's romance and there's misunderstandings, all about this attempted assassination. Oh, and I almost forgot Tom Sizemore and Johnny Knoxville as the guys trying to actually steal from the Russians, and then of going to Stanley Tucci's house to kidnap people, and that leads to the inciting incident. Oh, and the FBI agents that are on the run trying to connect, and
Omar
then
Epps
they cross
and Heavy D, right?
Yep, and they cross paths with Garofalo. See, all right.
Look,
they got a lot of moving parts.
I was going to say, this might have the problem of having too much going on. Just a little bit.
I don't know.
Not too much.
I don't know about that.
But there's a lot of moving parts. So, much like Rat Race, because of the moving parts and because of the huge cast, I don't think we get these huge, sweeping arcs or development from the characters. Which,
that's true.
Again, in a movie like this, I think is okay.
Except for Tim Allen and his son. That's like the main thing.
Yes, that is true.
They have a better bond because Tim Allen sticks his neck out.
Jason Lee might have a little bit of an arc too.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Right?
Finds love. Yeah.
Puggy, the whole thing.
Oh, and I guess the Hitman kind of have an arc too. Actually.
I guess so.
They kind of do. That's about it.
But look, here's another movie where you could ask different people, that have the few that have seen this movie. What are your favorite parts? What are your favorite scenes? And I think you'd get a lot of different answers. Or who is your favorite character or favorite duo in this movie?
Well, that's hard for me though.
And it's hard for me.
I like a lot of. I love.
I do like a lot of them, but for me, I think the choice is easy.
Well, for you, it is
because. Look, I am a Garofalo fan through and through. I miss her doing movies like this and movies in general. I haven't seen her in a starring role in so long. Reality Bites, as you know, one of my favorites of all time. But before that, Ben Stiller Show, she was on that, which I fell in love with her there. And then Truth About Cats and Dogs, The Matchmaker. It goes on. And of course, West Wing, I have to watch, I know.
And now this is one of the classics for you, for Garofalo's.
And now I can add this. Now, she's, of course, not the star of it, but she steals my favorite. She steals so many scenes. And look, Patrick Warburton.
Hey, he's great.
He's great,
man.
now, is sometimes hit or miss for me because he does do a lot of the same things pretty often.
Yeah,
But I love him as Putty. He did this horrible sitcom, Rules of Engagement. It ran for like 6 years, and he was so bad in it.
All right.
But,
look,
we all do bad sitcoms every now and then. Well, not we, but, famous people.
Maybe we'll.
Tim Allen's made a career off of lousy sitcoms.
He's better in movies.
I love his movies for some reason.
You know what it is?
Tell me.
It's all right. I'll tell you what it is. There's a couple things.
It's the ensemble.
It's condensed, and when he's got a good director with a more well-rounded character that has a better arc, it kind of brings that up. Is it that
I hate Tim the Toolman Taylor?
Yes.
Is that part of it?
That trope,
but that show also was written like garbage.
That's what I'm saying.
And then he did the other show that was also garbage, Last Man Standing.
It's just a character you don't like that's written in a way you don't like, that, and he's acting the character out you don't like. But this is a different character
All
than those
of his
guys.
movies are so good. Like,
because
Santa
one
Claus,
of my
favorite like sort of junk food movies is Wild Hogs.
Yeah.
And there's another great ensemble.
Because look.
And Tim Allen is in that, and it's a funny movie.
Look, much like Patrick Warburton, he's a better actor than people might give him credit for, and he's not being relegated to just that blue collar everyman with when you give him better stuff to write with, he's a better actor.
And I don't.
Look, spoilers, you know about this.
Yeah.
Galaxy Quest is one of my favorite movies. He does a great job with the humor and the heart of the drama. He's good when you give him good stuff.
I agree. And you mentioned Santa Claus. I like those movies.
Yeah,
obviously Toy Story.
I like him in this. I mean, he's one of my favorites.
I really do think Tim Allen is a funny person.
All right.
And is just stuck in these awful shows.
I'll tell you
what. Patrick Warburton, anyway, the point is, he did this horrible show, Rules of Engagement. It lasted 6 years, so it was always on my TV. And it was very annoying, and him and David Spade, and the third guy was...
You don't like him much either, yeah.
No, I do like David Spade. I don't like the other one, Chris Farley.
Wait a minute, David Spade?
I like David Spade.
It makes sense.
I actually like David Spade a lot. But the third guy, I think maybe was Oliver Platt, who is... not Oliver Platt, hold on.
It's kind of
Oliver Hudson, who is Kate Hudson's brother. Goldie Hawn again. Oh, see? Goldie Hawn again. Anyway, point is, I liked Patrick Warburton in this.
Okay, here you go. Let me...
And he and Garofalo are great together.
They have great chemistry together. me bounce off that with Warburton.
That 10-minute rant
to get back to
was getting back to Patrick Warburton's good in this movie. Is the point?
But
Okay.
the thing about Warburton that I like is I think maybe at this point he was probably a bit underrated, but I love his deadpan.
I mean, all he'd
reaction.
really done at this point, I guess, was
Seinfeld?
Putty. Did he do the Tick by then? Tick was early 2000s,
right
right?
around this time. But I'll tell you what really sells me is that I guess, and that's the David Spade connection. Obviously, he's Kronk from Emperor's New Groove, which his voice stuff is great, and also
he does do great voice stuff. And on a personal level,
seems like
he is an uber Pearl Jam fan. So there.
And also, there is the show I really love called Venture Brothers, where he plays against type as this badass action hero. You should check it out sometime. It's kind of a riff on Johnny Quest and stuff. Old superhero stuff.
Point is, he's good in the show.
He's good
in this movie.
He's good in this movie. Pretty much everybody's good in this movie.
But yeah, I mean, like this
Tucci,
would have been,
like, you know,
I think the earliest Tucci I've seen, maybe.
Because you still haven't seen Pelican Brief.
I never saw Pelican Brief. I mean, I'm sure I've maybe seen him in little cameos, but like in terms of a starring role,
did he do in the '90s? Actually,
I don't know. Let's look here.
He was probably a gangster.
Prizzi's Honor, and of course he did.
Oh wow, yeah.
That goes way back.
That's a good movie.
Big Night, yeah. Oh, Road to Perdition, but I didn't see that till way long. Oh, okay, here you go. America's Sweethearts. He has a small role in that with Julia Roberts, John Cusack, Billy Crystal, I think.
Is that
that was a funny
Zeta-Jones
movie.
in that too?
Yeah, Zeta-Jones. Yep.
That was a good movie.
Made in Manhattan, The Terminal. I saw The Terminal. I guess the first time I ever saw him in a movie was Devil Wears Prada, even though that's after some of these, but I saw The Terminal much later. I saw Made in Manhattan much later. I guess America's Sweethearts I saw in the theaters. But yeah, Julie and Julia, Devil Wears Prada, Julie and Julia, Lovely Bones, Easy A, Burlesque. I saw all of those in theaters. Love them all.
Look here. I think this movie does not detract from Stanley Tucci's always great. He's good as a scum.
Good.
Scummy guy.
Yeah, he's great.
I mean, everybody's great. That's kind of the strength of the movie. Let me see.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the writing. Let's talk about why it's so funny.
I mean,
I think the gags work. The physical comedy of this works.
The weird thing about
like Rat Race,
this movie is a lot like Rat Race, is that it seems like it's all very believable. Like the people and situations are believable.
Yes.
But it's just weird enough that like the goats and the Gator fan calling in.
I have
the squirting
this sort of rule. And we talked about this a little bit on Film Fanatics back in the day. There's this, for me, there's this sort of rule of, no, that's Justin. But this, for me, a comedy, unless it's like going all out, completely ridiculous from the jump, like Rat Race or a spoof movie or something like that. I think something can be incredibly funny.
Sure.
But I like to see real world consequences when something happens, which is why to me Horrible Bosses is like a perfect comedy. Everything that happens in Horrible Bosses is heightened, it's crazy, it's a bit farcical, but everything has actual real world consequences in the movie, and that happens here too.
It's not like in Rat Race where you just go to a Smash Mouth concert and it's like, okay, we're done.
Exactly.
No,
which is why I have problems with the ending of that movie. But
good point.
But yeah, I think here, especially because of the bomb stuff, and
it kind of
everybody has consequences. Everything sort of
wraps
like
up.
A domino falls in line. It
all kind of works,
and the natural even though these are very, very crazy scenarios,
the people seem very real, though.
The people seem real, and the situations they get in, I believe, could possibly happen, and if they did, would have the same consequences as in the film.
And and I like the domino effect of this person to this. It's all misunderstanding, and they're all trying to kind of get the same thing, but they don't really know. And I think
it's a farce.
But it's a really smart farce, and
I think most farces are that work. Because there's so many moving parts to them. Oh, that's why we always talk about Frasier. I mean,
and this is actually a movie version of that episode you like in Frasier so much,
cabin.
with all the cabin stuff. It's
absolutely
that constant switcheroo.
And people are missing each other, and
just barely,
like you said, the misunderstanding. Like they're all looking for the same thing, but they don't know it. All of that. Yeah, so...
And another thing I'll say that is a good sign for this movie is, I know you're not a big Tom Sizemore fan. You got some of the biggest laughs from him in this movie.
I did. He
was funny in this, too.
He just is kind of a jerk-off in the real world, so I think the only things I've ever seen him in are this and Saving Private Ryan. I don't know if I've ever seen any of his other movies, but...
I don't know.
But he was funny in this. I'll give him that.
And Knoxville surprisingly was, too. It's weird he acted so young. I was early...
I always liked Johnny Knoxville, even though I don't like Jackass. I don't like the stuff where people just hurt each other on purpose and hurt themselves. I don't find that funny, but although Bad Grandpa was funny.
Some of the gags are funny.
But, like, I always thought Johnny Knoxville was a funny dude, and, like, I think he's a talented actor, believe it or not.
He's not bad, yeah.
I love, what's the one, The Ringer, where he goes to the Olympics?
Actually,
that movie...
I thought that was a pretty good movie.
...is hilarious. And that shows, you know, his acting and comedic abilities more so than just hurting himself.
True.
You know, so... I think this shows that too, although there is some of that when they're on the plane and he's getting knocked around.
Do you have a favorite gag or plot through line in this one? Kind of Rat Race? Was something that you really...
oh boy.
I think there's a lot of funny moments.
There are. Like a ton.
I mean, I know mine's pretty easy.
I mean, look, in terms of the dialogue and stuff, I think Garofalo has the best lines and stuff like that. I kind of think the scene with Andy Richter is pretty funny. Granted, I'm a Conan and Andy fan. We all know that.
Oh, yeah, with the security guard, yeah.
But like, him as the security guard. Trying to shoot him. And that was kind of funny.
That is pretty good.
I mean, but the stuff, like, in the airport with the climax and stuff was all very, very well orchestrated.
He was.
And
yeah, I agree.
So I'd have to say, on the whole, like, that was probably...
You like the climax.
I do.
You kind of like the ending of the movie.
But here's the thing.
Well, that's a great movie, 1982.
They just... The thing, yeah. They shouldn't have released it in 2002 if they weren't going to change the ending.
Look, I judge...
Because nobody has seen this movie because of that.
I judge a movie for what it is.
No, I understand that.
And look, and here's the thing.
But you can.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing the movie was done. They got to go back and produce... It's a comedy. It's not some big money maker.
I know. Remember that movie, though, after the Batman shootings at the movie theater? Remember that movie, Gangster Squad, where one of their big scenes, and they showed it in all the trailers, was the movie theater shootout? I think... Now, granted, I only saw that movie once because it wasn't that good.
It was all right.
But I think they reshot that whole scene. Not only did they postpone the movie, but I think they cut that scene and did something different. I'm just saying...
It's nice if you can do that. I don't think everybody can do that. And
maybe not.
And I'm not sure if... And look,
this boasted a pretty big cast.
I know. And look, I think this would have been a bigger hit, but
for sure.
The truth is, go back and re-release it. If they released it in 2003 or 4 or 5 or 6, it wouldn't have mattered. Like, it's just... Like,
I guess it wouldn't have.
Because, like, post 9/11 issues... It took, like, what, at least 10 years to get past
But the problem is, okay, but think about what we said, that, like, okay, all these real-world consequences, X, Y, and Z, this is a kind of realistic, it's, you know, crazy and outlandish, but it's sort of realistic in some ways. It could happen. But once they get to the airport, all of the reality is just over because of what happened 9/11. Like, because the security was so heightened that the movie loses all sense of, like...
Well, it dates itself very much.
It dates itself immediately. And look, there's no doubt that movies right now, because of COVID, are maybe going to be dated in a similar fashion. I guess I can't deny that.
Every movie, to some extent.
But, like, I think about, like, Friends, okay? The show Friends... When they were coming back from break, the year of 9/11, one of the first episodes, or maybe the season premiere, was Monica and Chandler were going on their honeymoon, and one of the big gags was going to be that they were having trouble with airport security and this and that. They reshot the whole episode. Now, granted, maybe Touchstone Pictures didn't have Friends money, but, you know, to make it more palatable for the audience or whatever. So, look, watching it in 2021, it doesn't matter. You're right.
I mean, you enjoy...
It doesn't.
I mean, you even said it. You're like, the airport
It's
gag,
great.
It's really funny.
Well, it's well orchestrated for sure. It is funny.
And it's, you know, and like retroactively a movie that came out before that deals like with, you know...
That's the thing, it didn't come out before. It was made before, but it didn't come out before.
No, it was made before.
So, I don't know. I have mixed... like Rat Race, I have mixed feelings about the end. I think this ending is better than Let's Go to a Smash Mouth concert.
I mean,
to be honest,
there is an arc with Tim Allen where he kind of, you know, we have that resolution.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I think it's probably better written in some ways than Rat Race.
I would agree with that.
But I don't know. I feel very similar about it. But the timing of the movie, I think, is a very unfortunate thing. But I don't. It is. I don't think.
I think it could have been a pretty big hit.
I think it's a very funny, smart movie. I enjoy it. It's fun. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, let's give our grades before we look at the Rotten. For me, I feel like you're going to be higher than me on this.
Probably. I do love Big Trouble.
You love it. But I'll be honest.
Okay, I'd be honest.
To me, this one gets the same grade as Rat Race. I think it's an A-. I think it's a very, very good comedy.
Well, I agree with you. I think I like
probably an A, right?
A-.
A-. Okay.
I was originally thinking B+ because I think it's kind of a balance, but I do think it's a little better written than
it is.
Than Rat Race.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but they're both very. I think it was a good double for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, it's funny when you first said that.
Like,
I wasn't sure because I never saw it. The only thing I knew about it was Johnny Knoxville was on an airplane. But yeah, I mean, the people I mentioned it to seem to think yes, that sounds great, and I can totally see why it makes sense.
Do you like the Gator fans? They're pretty good.
The Gator fans were good, yes.
The guys hating Florida.
So, okay, here is
divisive.
48 on the critics, which I think was right about where Rat Race was. Wasn't Rat Race like 46?
And Princess Diaries.
And Princess Diaries as well, which we just said. And then 54% for audience, which is lower than... it could be 9/11 hate. That's lower than Rat Race.
We'll see.
But let's see what people said about it. Sharp, funny movie for high schoolers and up, sure.
Sure.
Was this R? This was PG-13.
Had to be PG-13, right?
Right? I don't know. Yeah, PG-13. I don't think Tim Allen does R-rated, does he?
I don't know.
It's pretty clean. All right, here's some negatives. In this clumsy attempt to merge farce with satire, the jokes repeatedly miss the mark. Disagree.
Sounds very opinion. Yeah.
Mostly the director mishandles the broad part of the comedic formula, preferring repetition to thematic development. Well, the characters don't get developed, but...
They have different gags, though.
But I would... Yeah, repetition, I don't think...
Well, it enhances things.
Yeah, I don't know. Faithful to the novel, it lifts a good deal of his witty dialogue and recruits a proven cast of laugh winners. Why is it so unfunny, then? 1 out of 5? That guy's just a jerk. Look, comedy's subjective. That's the thing.
That's the problem. I don't know.
Maybe you won't like it, but
with your particular humor rates.
Let's look at some positives here.
Sure.
The director unites an incredibly unique and charismatic ensemble cast for the adaptation. Tim Allen is great in his role, but never Wild Hogs callback the scenes from his fellow cast. I agree with that.
That's true.
Allen, and
he blends.
Maybe that's why I like his movies more, because he is more of an ensemble.
Mm-hmm.
Wild Hogs is a 4-man show.
It's not focused all on Tim Allen.
Yeah, even Santa Claus, you had the kid, you had Martin Short, you had the elves,
and Toy Story also.
Toy Story, of course, yeah. Big Trouble is one of the more enjoyable comedies to emerge in a good long while. All right. Here you go. This guy reviewed it on the anniversary of 9/11, but a positive. The plot is so amusingly contrived and outlandish in its coincidences that no one could ever mistake it for anything resembling reality. Look, I think if people were in these situations, it would be realistic.
Yeah.
Much like Horrible Bosses. Like, those things wouldn't really happen, but if they did, here's what would happen.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to look at some of the audience, or we don't care about them? The audience hated it.
Sure, we can hear if you want.
Let's hear a little bit of the audience here.
The audacity of the audience.
A great lineup of talent, and Dave Barry's story about shenanigans in the U.S. Capitol, something. Okay.
Because he clicked off
stupid
it.
film.
Whoops.
So that didn't work. All right, well, whatever.
Now it's just a blank screen.
Now it's just blank.
My guess
Basically,
is
we love it.
Some people probably were mad about 9/11.
Maybe.
I think that was some of the pushback at the time.
The only reason I rewatched this movie after 8 years is because Sweet Angel, Zooey Deschanel, is on it.
All right, look.
Okay, well,
this person
should not be able to review on Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean, I think,
sex review.
Some people come back to movies specifically for look.
I guess.
Look, I like Zooey Deschanel too. I mean,
I do too.
I mean, I don't know.
All right, now let's go to the Ebert. Maybe we can actually find an Ebert review.
Maybe he actually didn't say
zero. Rat Race, we just didn't know.
0 stars. That's rare for Ebert.
That's extreme.
That's like, man, he does.
I don't think he liked this one though. I'm gonna say 2.
Sure. How about
maybe even 1.5?
I'll go 2.5. I'll go.
Is that right?
I'll do a 2.5. Why not? We'll see how it goes.
2.5.
Why not?
All right, here you go. Big Trouble, 2002. Let's see what the Ebert says. 2.5.
Oh,
you know your Ebert.
I guess.
All right, yeah, based on a novel. Blah blah blah.
Big plot synopsis.
All right, film's omniscient narrator. Da 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 da. And you just giving us the plot.
He loves a lot of plot.
All right.
It's for internet really big.
Barry Sonnenfeld may get Shorty. He relates it to that. Okay. It's not in that class. It seems so crowded that it sometimes feels like a casting call made for an eventual picture not yet made.
Wow.
But it has charms. It's the kind of movie you can't quite recommend. 2.5 stars is a recommend to me. Because it's all wind up and not much of a pitch, yet you can't bring yourself to dislike. There you go. Okay. Originally scheduled for an autumn opening, pulled from 9/11. But these terrorists and bombs form a simpler and more innocent time.
He knows.
The movie is a reminder of an age when such plots were obviously not to be taken seriously. All right, well,
see?
screw me then. You know, look, I still gave it an A-.
But you like to give Rat Race 0 stars?
I don't, actually. I think these are pretty comparable movies.
I don't know, man.
You know, for you, B+, A-. For me, both the same grade. I think this was a great double. And again, I think in an era where post-American Pie, R-rated, like, hard comedies were the way to go. The Jim Carrey comedies were kind of done by then. The Sandler comedies even were going R-rated, like Chuck and Larry and the Zohan and stuff like that. So I think, speaking of, if we're going to quote Ebert here, hearkening back to a more simpler time, like, these do remind me of more 90s comedies. The PG-13, like, this is kind of fun for the whole family.
You miss that stuff.
I do, actually.
Yeah.
You know, and nowadays there's hardly any comedies out there because they all go straight to Netflix.
Well, that was kind of the pushback, too, because, I mean, well, I don't know, because for a long time you had the R stuff, and then people felt like they didn't want to alienate from the R, hence PG-13, and then it's like people leaned into that. Now a lot of pushback for not enough R-rated things.
Well, remember when, you know, not to go off on a tangent, but remember when Coming to America sequel came out earlier this year?
Yeah.
People were like, oh, it's PG-13, that's going to suck.
Will it?
Why?
Right.
Because Eddie Murphy can't say the F word 20 times. You've heard it. You've already heard that.
You know what,
to me, this is a conversation for another time, but I think there's nothing wrong with PG-13 comedy.
Do you think that with comedy it's a little more flexible than with, like, an action movie? Because that's always a big thing with the whole, like,
people don't like PG-13 action either, right?
That's where I hear that.
People don't like PG-13 action. But it's funny. People love the Marvel movies, don't they? They're PG-13 action movies. You know what I mean?
Good point.
So I have mixed feelings about that too. But anyway, we'll have that conversation another day, I'm sure.
Sure.
And I love an R-rated comedy too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I know you love a lot of them.
But I think these two comedies do sort of harken back to my more childhood and college-aged movie-going experiences with comedies.
And those movies, both of them were ones that I watched as a kid, as a teenager, and really liked them.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the fact that I come back to them, and they still make me laugh. And I think they hold up pretty well. For what
Absolutely.
They are. So it's like, yeah, I agree with you. I really do.
You know? And well, whatever. You know, I was just going to say, I mean, like, you know, Naked Gun is PG-13. Sure. Mean Girls is PG-13. Dodgeball is PG-13. These are all very funny movies.
Yeah.
All right. Rat Race is great. Big Trouble is also great. Thank you for finally showing me Big Trouble. That was a great suggestion.
Welcome.
And that's what Dan's Big Movie is all about. I've been talking about Romeo and Michelle for years, and you finally got to see it when we did it.
And you know what? I never would have watched that.
Never would have watched that movie.
But it was really good. I liked it a lot.
Kudrow again.
That's the main draw for me.
Yes.
Though Garofalo again. And
actually,
see, I like
that was the other Garofalo. Yeah. Yes, I knew I was forgetting one.
I do like her.
Thank you all for watching. We got this in under an hour, which is bold for Dan's Big Movie.
Surprising, yeah.
But next month we're going to do the Whoopi double.
Whoopi.
Burglar and Jumpin' Jack Flash. Then we've got Romeo plus Juliet and
something else.
I think maybe we're going to do that Ethan Hawke
but apparently
show.
Nobody wants to do that, so maybe we'll think of something else.
We'll see. You might talk me into it. And then West Side Story and Fiddler are going to be in December. And then we've got a whole another year
to think about,
to look at the anniversaries of. So we'll finally be getting out of 91 and 2001.
So it'll be 92 now.
So it'll be 92. All the movies from 92.
92.
82 is a great year for you for sci-fi.
82 is like the big sci-fi year. Maybe I'll get some sci-fi.
We might have a few. We did make that comment the other day that we haven't done any sci-fis yet.
Well, all right. Well,
so maybe January. If there's a good January 82, we'll do it. And for you guys, please suggest away. We always love hearing from you guys. Our very first Dan Big Movie ever was a suggestion. One of my subscribers just wanted to commented like, hey, you should watch Pee-wee's Big Adventure sometime.
Okay.
So we did. All right. Thank you. And we'll see everybody next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.